Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick, spiritual life coach and your host of Her Conversations Tools for the Awakening. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. What is the awakening? This is the moment in time when humanity rises up out of the darkness. Who is awakening? Each one of us present on earth today, reclaiming our sovereignty, seeking greater possibilities in our reality and looking for solutions. We know being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If we can transform ourselves, we can change the world. Guests on Her Conversations speak to your spirituality, sensuality and soul. Listen to their stories and hear how they are in service to the world. Let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. My guest this week is Antonia Tindley, director of Awake, the Conscious Meditation Practice, a company that teaches meditation. During our conversation, Antonia talks about the power of presence, God, manifestation, the shift she has noticed in the public since the pandemic, and her vision for the future in her company and humanity. So as always, I begin by asking my guests, HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel that higher energetic resonance?
Definitely when I'm fully present. And presence, is more widely understood these days by people, being when your mind is not racing, even when your mind is off. So that you know what's going on around you and you can sort of see the bigger picture. But after years of meditating and practicing presence, have these pockets of absolute awe. Talking about higher energetic resonance, there are times when I'm present and I can see, oh, this is beautiful. I've come completely into where I am now, and I'm looking around. I can appreciate everything. But sometimes when the feeling that I know of God, coupled with my realization of presence, sometimes makes me feel like I'm part of the phenomena. There are pockets of, I don't know how to describe this to anybody else, and I just have to embrace this feeling now and enjoy it now and know it's there. There are times like that, and I would say it definitely comes out of presence and the practice and sort of being open to it.
Yeah, I like that when you have those moments, like you said, those moments of awe where you're just like, my gosh, what, like you want to try and share it with everybody, but it's one thing that you can maybe explain, but can only really be experienced by the other person, and then you want to try and guide them to experience that in their life. So totally get it, and it's great that you can recall those moments. It just gives more richness to life, I really think. And before we go on anyway, I just want to give you an opportunity, Antonia, just to explain a little bit more about what you do, and also just a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm the director of Awake, the Conscious Meditation Practice, it started off as an agency, and it sort of morphed into a bit more of a general practice. We offer private guided meditation through different teachers that are on the agency. I only take the very best teachers. I teach as well. So we do privates, we do public courses, we do retreats, events. You can get children's online meditation books. You can do an online course. So it's your umbrella company that you go to if you want any sort of guided meditation and you know that it's being overseen in terms of ethics and quality. And it started, I thought about this a while ago. Where did this all start? How did I get here? And I tried to pinpoint the time, and I think I did, which is really funny. I think when I was I'm only guessing, maybe 5 or 6, I was in my dining room and my mum was looking for an earring. And we looked for the earring for a while and she was getting more frustrated. And she sort of stopped and said that she would say a prayer to find it. She prays to St. Anthony and St. Martin. And so, I watched her do it. And she said, do you want to do it? And we sort of said this prayer. And then really soon after the prayer, we found it under the stereo recorder, the stereo player. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, we couldn't see this before and now we can see it. And then realizing that there was a power that you could interact with that you can't see. And for a little girl who liked Barbie Rockstar, who was a normal girl but then had these magical powers, I was like, oh my goodness, I could be like Barbie Rockstar. There's something that's going to make me powerful. And I couldn't believe more people weren't interested. And so I started praying, and it became a hobby, which was really unusual little hobby to have as a little girl. And then I found that my success rate with praying was really good. Even when I was quite young, by the time I was a teenager, I was taking requests from people.
Wow.
Like family members or friends would come to me and ask me to pray for something. And my success rate was very good. I'm actually still part of a prayer group now. And so I knew, but all the way back then, I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. That it's something that made me happy, something that I felt made me really strong inside, this loving feeling that I had inside that actually affected my outer world and helped the people that I knew too. But the sort of it didn't have a very good rep. People at school weren't talking about it, and they didn't, going to Catholic church, which I did every Sunday. I remember thinking that was a lot less fun than I found praying to be, and I remember thinking that this could be a lot more fun, and it wasn't packaged very well, and it wasn't, it didn't seem to be very cool. But I knew that it was so cool, that there was something going on that we can't see, that we can interact with. And I used to say to my mum, when I grow up, I'm going to make God cool, because people my age don't think it's cool. And she would laugh and say, like, okay, Tonya, if anyone can do it. And I didn't sort of set out to do that. But I always prayed, and I really enjoyed praying, and I do it every day. And I'm really proud of it. When I got to my 20s, I discovered Eckhart Tolle meditation, and I became fascinated with that and the power of presence. And he really teaches quite thoroughly how to do it. I mean, it's quite a drawn out process learning with Eckhart, but the end product is brilliant. And that's what the stage 1, 2, and 3 course that I teach is. It's like a condensed version of that if you need to learn it very quickly. That's available online at the moment. It's called the Higher Power course. But the more I practiced being present, and the more I enjoyed doing that, and I used to do it with my eyes open when I was at work, and I saw how differently situations unfolded if I was doing that. And I began to teach. I was on a national contract at the time as a learning and development senior facilitator in charge of mental health. And so I actually put meditation into the contract, and people really enjoyed it. And then I had this moment on a tube near Green Park. I think I'd been to a dance class at Pineapple Dance Studios late one night in the week. I think it was like a rainy Wednesday evening. And I was looking around, and I was really being present, and I was enjoying that feeling on a tube. And I was looking at everybody, and then I had this huge, overpowering realization as I was stepping off the tube, that the feeling that I knew of God when I prayed wasn't something out there, it was something inside me. And I had this I was walking, and I remember my foot nearly stopped to go in front of my other foot, but I had to keep walking because there were so many people getting off the tube. I had this huge realization that there's that power, that huge power that we know and we love. It isn't just out there, it's definitely inside us too. And then I started the company, and I teach, the main ethos of the company is that you are connected, and that huge power, it's not something, I mean, of course it is up there and out there, but it's also completely central and inside you as well. And it's just about opening up or finding that path within, however you want to describe it. The more you try to describe it in words, the more obscure and blurred it begins to be. Which is why all the courses are practical courses. They're not really academic. The online one will tell you why we do this, how to do it step by step. But if you go to a practical or a private course, you lay down in the first couple of minutes with your eyes closed and you just learn through experience, because otherwise it's just words and then you're in your mind and then it's a concept, and you don't feel it like that. You have to just do it, and then it will come.
When you were speaking about being a child and experiencing praying and then seeing the power of the prayer and everything like that, one of the things that I've had to remind myself of, especially recently when I've wanted to kind of really just change my life in a really pivotal way, is remind myself that I used to do this before. And it reminds me, there's like a few moments in my childhood that stick out, that I had just an absolute 100% knowing that things were going to go my way. There was one, I remember I was learning to ride a bike, and then I had a dream where I was riding a bike, and then the next day I was riding a bike when I was riding a bike, because I just knew it. I was like, yeah, I can ride a bike. There was like there was no question about it, because I felt myself doing it. So I never had this kind of, or that awkward bit. It was like, hang on, I can do this. I remember feeling the feeling in my dream, and I brought that into my real reality, 3D physical life. There was also, and I've done this another couple of times as well, one of the schools that I went to, is they had this kind of competition where you could win a Bible. And I can't even remember what you had to do for it, but I decided that I'd won the Bible. It was just like, I've won that. Like, I was like completely 100% intent on, there was no question about it. There was like, but what if it was like, I've won it? And there's been a couple of times where I've entered competitions on certain things where I've just kind of like, I'll wait for them to contact me, and I was absolutely sure about it.
Yes, I've done that too. When and sometimes you sort of try to know if you want to win something or you want to do something, but you think, oh, I don't know if this is definite. But when it happens and you think that's already happened.
Yeah,
I've won that. Yes, that happened with an award I got. I got the Corporate Wellbeing Specialist of the Year for London and South East England. And when I first heard about it, I thought, oh my goodness, that's my award. I've won that, which is really egotistical and awful. But I knew it was coming. And then when they called me and said, you've won this, I was like, thank you. I know. No, I didn't say I know.
It's one of those things, though, where we allow this word ego to kind of pull us off, and like it's egotistical, and it's like, no, it's confidence, you know what I mean? And that word ego gets thrown in, and like, because we want to be seen as good people and not braggadocious and caring and arrogant, that we then kind of pull ourselves in, and it's just like an absolute 100% not looking left or right, up or down. It's like, I knew that there was nothing about it. And it was, over the years, I've never really been able to match that as many times until I started to remember that, hang on a minute, when I was a child, and when I wasn't really listening to anyone, and also when I didn't tell anybody that that's what I thought, when I kept it in my mind and knew it 100%, then that's when it happens. When I started to try and communicate it to people that had no experience of that, then they'd be like, oh, that's crazy, that doesn't make sense. And then you start to kind of get pulled into, is it really, and kind of going along with that, and the unsurety of because they've not experienced it, so you're kind of buying into their disbelief of it. And then also your confidence gets called something negative. Like, no one wants to be called egotistical, but like clarity and definition, and definite of purpose can be seen as arrogance to people who haven't got it all together, who are dithering on the sides, because you just kind of go for it and you're not looking either way. But I kind of lost that over the years, because you just kind of take on external voices too much, and you kind of get bits of it and you come out of it. But it was only recently, again, when I was like going back into things, going, hang on a minute, I used to trust this 100%. Remember that day when you woke up and you knew that you could ride your bike? I just knew. There was nothing about it at all. The day that I knew that I was going to win that Bible, the day it was, the competition was, I had a big keyboard and you could win these extra kind of like discs. I don't know, you like kind of put more sounds in it. I mean, it had a million sounds anyway, but it was like with a big, really big company, Roland, and they said, well, if you could have any voices, you know, what other voices do you think that we should create for this computer? And I just put these things and just went, yeah. And I went.
Yeah, it's like you draw it to you. I remember doing it once. I think I had it. Callum was only young. We were on holiday in Turkey, and there was no reason why I should win. We stayed at this lovely hotel, and they were doing like a big bingo night, and there must have been 100 people there doing a competition. But one of the prizes was swimming with dolphins. And when I heard that that's what one of the big prizes was, I wanted it so much, and I thought, yeah, me and Callum, I'm going to take him to swim with dolphins. This is going to happen this holiday, and I couldn't have done it, I don't think, at the time without winning that prize. But I did. I decided this is it, and I was so focused, and I did. And you know, I don't know how I couldn't have controlled what my slip said and what the bingo numbers were, but I did win it. You know, I won the big prize, and we did go dolphin swimming. But I think it's something about the law of attraction, and when something seems big, it's further away. But when you use the law of attraction and you make things small, even though you walk around in your day-to-day and you think something's big, like winning a competition or achieving something great or obtaining something that seems hard to obtain, when you make your own potential the greatest thing, everything is sort of small and inside that, and then you go to it rather than it being something huge that you need to reach up to. If you make yourself the biggest thing, you sort of go down to it and just sort of get it. It's a tough one to try to articulate, but the law of attraction is a magnificent thing. I've got a retreat coming up. We do the manifest retreat, and that's where people come and they bring 2 or 3 ideas of what they want to attract into their life, and I teach them about the law of attraction, and then they go into a meditation, and then they may do vision boards, but they're incredibly effective, you know. That's why I really enjoy learning about neuroscience. I'm doing a neurobiology and a medical neuroscience course at the moment, 2 different courses that are complementing each other. But if I won the lottery tomorrow, I think I would be designing huge clinical trials. You know, I would love to see what happens in brains. You know, even things to do with, I have a lovely little hobby at night time. I read about quantum physics. There is so much to learn. I wish we could see everything that's going on around us. You know, there's so much that we can't see, but I bet if you could, it would be fascinating. And I bet that there is so many tools we can use, but I feel like we're at the moment trying to learn with our eyes closed. So you have to sort of feel your way through it. But it's nice as well. Sometimes you don't want to know everything. Sometimes the journey of not knowing and trying to figure it out and learning is the most fun.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've been really experimenting especially this year, with nighttime visualizations and kind of playing things in the background and everything like that. So I'll be putting like 8-hour meditations or 8-hour subliminals on as well, just like really, really low in the background. No, it's not the best thing to have the Wi-Fi running when you sleep. You know, you're like kind of like sitting in the middle, but there's all of this out there because I'm like, let me really focus on just getting my mind like absolutely 100% sharp. Let me really focus on getting all of the things that have got me dithering and second guessing myself, and just really, and that's when all of the stuff of me remembering that I used to do this as a child like resurfaced for me as confirmation that this has been done before. What I'm about is embodying. I think you're talking about like embodying the feeling of being who you are, which is where I come from with the higher energetic resonance and all the things that I'm creating. And making it that, you know, when you're saying making God cool, that's when I'm talking about being a spiritual life coach. It's like life coaching plus, but not in the woo-woo or exclusive. It's making it palatable for the everyday person to, this is just an extra tool to add to your arsenal, you know? It's not something out there. You don't have to sit on a cushion. You don't have to wave the beads. You don't have to, it's something that you can use so that, like you said, you can have those moments of massive realization when you're just in a tube station. You're like, oh my God, I actually, you know, when you actually realize what's going on, that it can be brought in. Because I just think if everyone in the world could actually have that realization for themselves, you know, what could we create if everyone was in that space and creating and realizing that they're in control of it? We're kind of on the opposite at the moment. You know, what are you finding with the people that you work with?
Just on the making God cool bit, I think the Americans do it really well. I think over here in England, I'm for sure, I'm not saying that God's not cool and I'm trying to make God cool. It's boring to kids because of the way that it can often be taught in schools. You know, they don't teach all the fun bits. A lot of it is about, you know, religion and what happened in the past, which you know, the things that went wrong and why we don't do this. And, you know, there can be a lot of sort of guilt involved in the teaching of it, you know, and that you must try to, you know, or this will happen. And there's just so much, there's so much good and fun in it. It's just about repackaging it, I think, so that people think, oh, that sounds amazing, I want to do that. And everything is sort of positive around it and relatable in a sort of day-to-day way, rather than thinking, oh, there's this huge drawn-out thing from the past that needs to be brought up in the present, that we all need to do it like this. But the Americans, there's a lot of things on social media that I like. You know, when rappers put them in, the word God into songs, or you know, there's a lot of phrase in America where I see different famous people saying "put God first." You know, I was thinking, what does "put God first" mean? But I like that. And I'm pretty sure that it means if you don't know what's going on, or you don't know what to do at that time, you know, decide what you think is right and do that, whether it's the easy road or not. Do that. You know, always go with your conscience, because ultimately it is something that's within. But over here in England, I would love to get in a room with whoever is deciding for the Board of Education what we could include in the national curriculum, so that children can have access to their spiritual lessons in a really fun way. I actually do teach in schools. In high schools, we do guided meditation. You know, you can do 200 students in a few hours, and we do that. We've got some of the wellbeing contracts around this area. I find that in primary schools, when I teach in primary schools, we've got a peace fruit workshop which has guided meditation at the end. But it's a brilliant. It's so fun. It's so brilliantly fun. They work in teams, and they realize the difference between their mind and their consciousness, which sounds so abstract, but you can see all their little eyes sparkling when they realize sort of, oh yeah, there's some really fun games that you can do, and they're laughing and they're giggling and they're talking about their home life. And we take things that can be serious or stressful in a little child's day to day, we make light of them and see how you could find a pathway around it a different way if you use your consciousness rather than your mind. And it's so beautiful and it's so fun, and there's so much that can be done with children, so that we're encouraging them to know themselves as these little beings of, you know, love, and that they are part of this network together. Because our network is our absolute strength. Even the more that sometimes, you know, you can be on it one day where you think, oh, I've got such a strong message, I know what I'm doing, you know, my energy is really high, I completely have this clear path. And other days, because we're sort of governing our way through business or politics, or, you know, anything that the sort of natural civilized world can throw at you, sometimes when your path is not as clear, but you may I might see one of your social media posts or a motivational, video, or hear something on the radio, and somebody else's path that day is strong, and then it'll flip you back to being strong. You think, oh yeah, somebody in my network, they're strong today. I hear what they're saying, and your mindset changes and you're back on track. So it's just keeping, it's like a little tightrope. It's all about, sometimes, you're on it and you're balanced, and if you wobble, none of us are doing this alone. All of us are part of the same thing, but we get to have our own little being as our own special parts of the universe. You're gifted with this bit that's just you, but you're also part of many. I wish I could remember who it was that said you're a drop in the ocean, but also the whole ocean in the drop. I can't remember who said that.
I think, is it Rumi?
It sounds like Rumi, maybe
Yeah.
Rumi. Yeah, it's about the network, and that's totally why the Awake Peace movement is doing well, because we've all come out of the pandemic. So there's never been a point in history, certainly not for me, but that I can think of, where we all understand so clearly that we're a network and that things spread through us. The pandemic, COVID, spread through everybody. It went all the way around the world. And although that was a negative thing, what's come out of it is that people realise we're a network and things spread. So the Awake Peace movement is about taking that idea and using our weakness as our strength and realising that we can spread peace. So guided meditation courses, say the public courses, peace is created within those people. And the message from the company when they book is that they are part of this peace movement, and that peace created in them will affect the people that they meet. And peace is something that can travel through, and the people that they meet will feel that, and they will interact with others, and this ripple effect will happen. The more people engage with it, the more it will spread. And you may not be able to affect what's going on the other side of the world, but if all these little beings start lighting up in peace and love and happiness within them, that will carry, that ripple effect. So we have a lot of power within us, and we have a huge amount of power as a network. It's about, that spread and that join and that movement.
We've come out of like the past 3 years, and things are not completely settled. We're kind of going through this like shift now, where there's people are really concerned about the cost of living, wars, like stuff that's being kind of pushed on the kids, and what's going to happen in the future, like the shift in kind of technologies and the way that people work. I think as well, what happened over the pandemic for a lot of people, when they didn't have to go into work, and especially with a high percentage of people who do work that they don't care for, and then really started to be in their home space and see what they'd made of their lives up until that point. And it was like, some people didn't like being on their own. Some people didn't like being locked in their house with their family and their spouse.
Yeah.
Some people loved being away from their work and had the opportunity. So it gave everyone a lot of time to reflect individually if they chose to. There was a real opportunity to go, okay, the world's gone crazy. I can't really control what's going on. I can control my response to it and how I'm going to get through it. Did you notice any kind of shift in the amount of people that were reaching out to you, and what they were saying about maybe how they were starting to see the world, or how they were starting to view their own existence, and how you could be instrumental in that? Did that change anything on your business or the influx of people that came to you?
Certainly, there's two things in that. Certainly, when people do the stage 1, 2, and 3 course, I find that people that learn how to be present. So you have the guided meditation that's for rest and peace. There's lots of different styles of that, which is great. But the stage 1, 2, and 3 teaches exactly how to become present and how to do it with your eyes open in your day-to-day situations. And loads of people contact me and say, I've quit my job because I realised I didn't want to do it. I'm going to do this instead. And it's all about that intuition, because lots of people do things because they're sort of in a routine, or they're following what they think they want through their mind or what's important. But once you know how to be present and you see this bigger picture and you can live your life not through your mind, this enormous amount of intuition rises up, and you completely trust. People call it their gut feeling, but I don't think that intuition when you're present is any different than listening to God. But I know we've had this conversation before, and you have to be very careful, or I have to be very careful using the word God, which I don't in my business very often, because it means such different things to different people. I have a feeling when we say it, we mean something very similar. But depending on people's religion, their teaching path, how they grow up, what was taught to them, it can mean completely different things to different people. So I don't tend to say God very much. I tend to use the word higher power, or peace, or love, because everybody can relate to that. That's sort of less misunderstood through the masses. But that intuition, when people start to meditate, especially the presence meditation with their eyes open, lots of them change their lives and say they're much happier because they've listened to their intuition. They know how to. But the other part of that answer was, what have I seen? Certainly this year, I think we've had about 1,000 new clients this year. We're just at the end of April now, which is brilliant, but a huge influx of men, a massive amount more of men, double. And they used to be, the public courses used to be, you might have 14 women and 2 men on a course, on a weekly course. And now lots of them are 50-50, sometimes more men than women, which is brilliant. And I do try to, where I can, take some pictures at events, of a row of men meditating. They've sort of got their eye pillows on, they've got their headrests, they're all laid down with their blankets. And it's such a beautiful thing to see, because before now, certainly lots of men have seen meditation as a bit silly or too feminine. And the brand that I've got, I've purposely made it quite masculine. So on the website, the colours are dark. If you go to a class, one of the branding, the teachers do sign contracts, branding contracts, when they come onto the agency, so they understand what an awake class is. And it's quite a masculine class, as far as the mats are all in rows. There are to be no circles. There's no cross group discussion. It's very much, if you went to the gym, you wouldn't want to go into the gym and then ask everybody else how long they've ran on the treadmill and what weights they've lifted, because people don't really care. You just want to go in, you want to get on the treadmill yourself, do your best, you want to lift your own weights, then you want to go and think, my body's stronger now. And you weren't necessarily in competition with anybody else, and you weren't, no offense to anybody else, but you're not necessarily interested in what they've done either. And that's what an awake class is like. You go in, it's very personal, very sort of direct practice, where it's all about you. You're in, you do it, you're out, and you're spiritually better off for it when you go. And that's quite a masculine thing, and I think it is attracting more men. I find it comes easier to women. We seem to be more open to talk about spirituality, because we're connected to our emotions differently. Our brains can work like spaghetti. We're easily able to jump from one idea to the next and then back. But a man is more compartmentalised in the way that they think, so they like to have ideas in sections. So when they talk about something, they may want to talk about one thing, in the way that they experience spirituality. Whereas women sort of talk in conversation and really want to jump and explore it and then jump back and then see what the other one thinks. And the conversations are different. So certainly in the public courses, the clients don't talk to each other about it. It's the teacher to the client and the individual, and they all go under quite quickly.
What do you think has happened that has brought more men to this? Is anyone feeding back to you? Are you hearing something more men are saying that has opened up for them, or they're just turning up and you're not really noticing what it is that may have kind of triggered this new awakening in men?
I think possibly the pandemic had something to do with it. You know, we had the time to think. You sort of got put into a super microcosm, didn't you, of your own life, and who are the people you're spending time with. You know, everybody's circles got a lot smaller, and we sort of all reviewed our lives internally and got that sort of unusual time to decide, you know, is this good for me, this condensed life, is it not? And people, like you said, some people really enjoyed the pandemic, some people really had a really hard time with it. And people started to sort of get to know themselves on a really personal basis, because you had to slow down and sort of you had all this extra time and less interaction with a big variety of people. And for some people, you know, that may have brought stresses to the surface. It might have given them time to figure out what they want, and now they're at the point of wondering how I'm going to achieve it. And lots of people now are just moving towards self-care. But I do think social media is a huge part in it. I can put a picture of a man meditating, and then there will be lots more inquiries from men, you know, over emails, because I think it's people see, you know, a picture or read a review of somebody saying, you know, there'll be a middle-aged guy saying, yep, I'm in a business, my life's quite stressful, so I've been going to the gym and that helps me, but now I do a weekly meditation and that helps me even more. So now I'd have my gym life, my meditation life, and I'm finding that everything's getting easier. And if I put a video testimonial up like that, you know, men seem to trust each other. You know, if this guy's running a business and he's saying, you know, I can see from his body, he looks pretty healthy. He looks like he goes to the gym and he seems quite chilled out in that video. He says he meditates. Then that really does help. I think it's coming out of the pandemic and just bringing more exposure to the fact that meditation is not silly. You know, it isn't woo-woo. You have a lot of people rebooking. All you need to do is invite them to their first class. What's not to like? You get to know yourself and enjoy yourself more internally. Why would people not want to do that more once they've done it one time?
You recently did a big event in Marble Arch, was it last month? How did that go? What was the feedback from that?
Oh, it was gorgeous. I put some video testimonials up on the Instagram @awake_meditation Instagram account. And Frameless is a 360-degree digital art experience, and it's over 30,000 square feet, the whole venue. I hired it out in the morning, and we took one of the largest galleries called The World Around Us, which makes you look like you're on top of a mountain, and then you're under the sea, and at one point you're in a forest. And we did an event, people came and they meditated, and for the last 20 minutes, I got them into a state of presence so that they could open their eyes and watch all this scenery change and be part of that scenery. And a composer called Matthew Early, he made the most beautiful 17-minute piece of music, which was just so moving. And I managed to have everybody present, watching all the scenery change. And we went through the elements fire, air, water, earth. And I wrote in some guidance where they were asking themselves questions. You know, what are they grateful for? It's always great to start off, obviously, with the law of attraction. Gratitude is the basis of all abundance. So what are you grateful for? And then you move into what you want. How does that feel? How does it feel? What does it sound like? What does it look like? And when you take all those elements of your senses in terms of knowing what you want after knowing what you're grateful for, that thought moves past the brainstem and into the body, and you start to reconfigure your emotional state so that you're resonating with what it is that's coming up as what you want. And if you're present and you ask yourself what you want, then that's that intuition. will tell you, that's something deeper within that's not going to lie to you. It's going to be in line with what's good for you and good for your life. And the wonderful thing about Frameless is the images are moving all the time. And there is kaleidoscope meditation that you can do, which is where ethics comes in. If somebody's watching some moving artwork, you are in a very suggestible state because your eyes are following the artwork that's moving, and your body is present, so you've engaged your parasympathetic nervous system. So you're in a very suggestible state. What you hear, as the guides say, you're going to hear as your own voice. So that means that the guide that you have has to be very ethical. The intention has to be very pure and very gentle. So you ask people what it is that they think they want, how they think they'll achieve it, and you give them that space to create that ability, that capacity to be able to believe in your own dreams. It's a huge honor to be able to do things like that. And the feedback, I spoke to everybody that came to the event, and the feedback was incredible, and it was just as I thought it would be, and it was elevated in terms of normal feedback, because that extra sensory, the fact that they could open their eyes and do it with their eyes open, and there was moving artwork, so it wasn't that they were just staring at one flat surface. That's really powerful, and I do hope that I get to do it again at Frameless. It was amazing. On Easter weekend, the Ascension as well. What a day to be uplifting people.
Yeah, like a great tie-in. So if you were to just say to someone who is at the beginning of their journey or has a curiosity about meditation or being present, and it all seems so complicated, or it all seems like you've got to spend years doing that kind of thing, what would be the initial steps and ideas that you would communicate to someone to say, well, why don't you just start with this?
Yes, at awakemeditation.co.uk, you can do the stage 1 higher power course. That's 3 lots of 30 minutes is stage 1, and it teaches you step by step how to meditate and also be able to be present with your eyes open. So it's that Eckhart Tolle, brilliant teaching, completely condensed. You can do stage 1, then you move on to stage 2, and by the end of stage 3, you know as much as I know. I've condensed it into 9 lots of 30 minutes. You can do it in your own time. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do. You have each course, stage 1 is £20, so it's really accessible. Stage 2, £20, stage 3, £20. And then you know what you're doing. And then once you know what you're doing, it becomes fun. You can book onto public courses. You go under the umbrella of Awake Meditation, and you know that it's all completely ethical. Nothing is complicated once you understand what it is that you want from meditation. But stage 1 is definitely the place to start. And I did that because so many people say, oh, I just don't know which type is right for me, or I don't know how to do it, or I don't know if I'm doing it right. So the stage 1 is brilliant for beginners. And then meditating in groups is really beautiful as well. So it depends if you want private sessions, public sessions, if you want to try an event or a retreat. But it's a journey. It's like, you don't overthink starting the gym too much. You only need to know I want a flatter stomach, or I want bigger arms, or I want a healthier body. You don't get overcomplicated. You think what you want from it, and then you go to that machine. It's quite simple.
One of the things that puts people off a lot of the time when it comes to things like meditation is, I can't clear my mind and I can't not think of anything, which in my understanding of meditation is like, it's never about not thinking. It's just kind of finding the space around the thoughts, or not being drawn off left or right through the thoughts. That's the way that I work on my own meditations, is just to find the stillness in the middle of all of the stuff that goes on. But everyone has a different understanding. Everyone has a different way of doing it, and because also there are so many versions of meditations out there that can seem so complicated.
Yes.
Like to the point of, I've been to India, and I know I've met people who just want to sit in an ashram for years and years and not really speak to anybody, which maybe that works for them, but I always wanted to come back to the West. I never wanted to run away and sit away in an ashram and just kind of be on a mat.
Yes.
Exclusive.
Yes.
I wanted to bring what I'd learned into my life and then be able to translate it in a very grounded and clear fashion, so it doesn't seem like it's something unachievable.
Yes, I hope I articulate this really well then, because it's important that I do. Guided meditation, yes, you can see your thoughts and enjoy them and find a way through them. That might be in a visualization meditation or a yoga nidra style. But presence meditation is the one you do with your eyes open. And yes, you can learn how to turn your mind off. It's actually really, really simple. And it is a practice. So you may only be able to do it for sort of 20 seconds or 10 seconds at the beginning, but you can build it up and build it up, which is where I'm at the moment. But that's the stage 1 course. It will teach you within the first 3 lots of 30 minutes how to turn your mind off. That's what presence is.
So what goals and where do you want to see your company go to bring it out to a bigger audience, to bring it out to, like you say, you wanted to speak to the education departments to incorporate it into schooling for children? Where would you like to see your work go?
I would like it to be generally understood throughout the world. The fact that we're a network and what we do inside ourselves doesn't only affect us, it affects everybody that we come into contact with, and that travels into the people that they meet as well. So that people understand that they have the power to enjoy their minds, the power to feel this huge presence within them, that the higher power is not only out there, it's also in them. And the possibility and the probability of world peace can be reached in my lifetime. I have a huge responsibility, as in the ability to respond to the fact that our world isn't all peaceful. There are things going on all over the place, which, should not be, or would be so wonderful if they were not going on. And you can't reach over immediately into a different country and sort out politics, but you can control what's going on in you and your realm. And should every person do that, then that would travel everywhere. So it's a really simple concept that would be very effective the more people knew about it. So I'm just singing my song, drumming my drum, believing in world peace, because nothing's going to get achieved if you don't believe everything. An aeroplane is only there because somebody at one point believed they could make one. You have to make something smaller. World peace isn't that difficult to achieve. I'm sure it just needs enough belief around it, and then it will, like anything, come to the surface. So world peace within my lifetime, because I'm a mum and I have kids. And I'm sure when it's my last time to close my eyes, I'm going to be thinking, yeah, they're going to be all right. That this has been wonderful. What a journey. And also just the general sort of people feeling good about themselves. And I want people to think of world peace not as like peaceful, boring. Peace is where happiness comes from. Happiness is where, all the exciting stuff starts, where comedy starts, adventure, music. If we get rid of all the negativity, there's going to be more time for fun. And certainly that should be put into the national curriculum. So I am in contact with the Board of Education. Certainly for England, that's going to be great. I'm sure that's not going to be too far forward in the future. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's nothing particularly special about me other than I really believe in it. But I'm no different than every other person. I've just decided to start a company so people have somewhere to go to. rather than just sort of taking the roulette chance of going on YouTube and thinking, what's this one? And then closing their eyes and sort of submitting to something that you don't know what's coming. With awake meditation, you know that it's all been overseen. The ethics is really good. The practice and the intention is very simple, of peace and happiness. So I'll keep going, and I'm sure next time we do one of these podcasts, we'll be a bit further along.
Yeah. And it's I think that's what people now need to hear. At the core of it, the majority of people in this world are nice people that just want a decent life. They don't want all of this stuff going on, but it's just where we are at the moment is everything's being churned up, and a lot of things that we don't want to see, we're seeing. And in order to get through them is to get stronger, to get more present and more peaceful, to then be able to overcome, because you find these things that are nefarious, the things that are against us, are built on confusion. And love and clarity and peace and the will to actually overcome is way stronger than any of those things, because it's just coming with like pure intention to make it better. Like, light is stronger than dark, but we have to be able to see the dark in order to overcome it. And I think that's where some people do get a little bit afraid, maybe concerned, and thinking that, oh, if I focus on that, then I'm going to manifest more of it. It's like, if you're standing in light and looking at the dark, then you're showing clarity and purpose. Like you're saying, I want world peace. I want there to be a peaceful world. And that doesn't mean that people are just going to be sitting around doing nothing all day long.
Exactly.
Because when I'm in a peaceful state, I get so much more done. When I'm agitated, then nothing happens. And I think that's kind of where we're at the moment. It's like that, the idea that no one will want to go to work and no one will want to do things. There are people that really enjoy what we consider to be really mundane things. I always remember this guy when I used to live in this area in London called Crouch End, and he loved sweeping the roads. I'm not even sure that he worked for the council, to be honest, because you'd always see him going up. And I think he had people said that he was on the spectrum a little bit, that he had a little bit of Asperger's or something, but he'd walk up and down the road and he had like a cart and he was like happy, like going and just sweeping the road and taking things off the ground and putting them in his cart and just keeping the area nice. I enjoy getting things clean because I don't like chaos, and so, but there's always going to be, there are people that will come around your house and sort your wardrobe out for you. It's like there's always someone that's going to be doing the things that you don't really want to do. And if we all get into that state of peace and start working from, I really enjoy doing this, I think things will find their level. It's just that we get fed this idea that those are terrible jobs and this is what you're supposed to do, and kind of rank what people do in the world as like more important than others. And that's why people then get kind of forced into doing work that they consider to be the right thing to do, but spend their time being so unhappy. But now, like you said, you've seen that there's a shift of people when they're present, they're going, I don't like that. I want to do something else. I want to work from my heart. I want to kind of give back to the world in a way that it's never just solely about the money. And the thing is, as soon as you start working on purpose, where your focus isn't the money comes anyway. It comes in a really, as long as you're giving and you're serving, it takes care of itself in a way that, like, people just have to let go of the grasp and the belief that we have to do and grab and get, and there's only so much, because there isn't. We know there isn't. We know there's an abundant amount for everyone. And if everyone gets into that peaceful state, that present state, and starts giving from their heart and using their own talents and their own perspective, we could be in such a different space in who knows how long it's take, 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, as long as I'm here, that's my intention, to be part of that movement. And so that, kids coming up can come into a world where we leave it better for them. Because at the moment, if we don't take notice of the way things are going, we're going to have a generation behind us that are cursing the day that we were born because we didn't take care of things.
Definitely. I think with life purpose, it's about believing in yourself. And some people probably have an inkling of what their life purpose is, but they think that that dream is too big for them. They think, I'm not good enough for that. I couldn't have that. But once you become present and once you sort of go within and you know how to do that, you start getting really honest with yourself about what is it that I'm good at. And everybody is really, really beautifully, blissfully special at something. And it may be something that only when their favorite song comes on, they might be looking out a car window and they have that little dream, but they don't even tell anybody what that dream is. And maybe it's to travel or be a singer, or it could be anything. But the moment you start really identifying your own sort of internal intuition and what that feels like, and making room for that in your life, that brings about so much confidence, and you only start believing in your purpose when you give room for it to come through. And the moment you start believing a little bit is the point where you start attracting more of that into your life, and before you know it, it's coming towards you. And if everybody was, when I'm meditating or when I'm really present, I am peaceful, but it's when I'm at my most excited. My energy is so high, because I'm doing what I love and I'm knowing where I'm going, and my interactions are so great. And the better quality your interactions with other people, the more starts coming towards you that is enjoyable in your life. And I think if people do that, they make space for that in their life, their own inner purpose will shine through. And imagine if everybody was living their true life purpose. Surely the whole world would completely change. It would just be full of excited, happy people, creating and generating, and, situations and civilization would take on a hugely different meaning. And I don't know what that is. That's not my job to know what that is, but I'm sure it would be beautiful, and it's really fun helping people get there.
I'm with you on that. It's my dream. It's something that I always used to say, and I'd say, just imagine if everyone just took care of their space and the space in front of their house. If you just kept it to your own environment and kept it at the optimal level, then everyone just looked after their space and the space
their realm. That's it.
Everyone would just meld together, and it's like, yeah, but that couldn't happen. And if we didn't have good, it's like, no, because we've outsourced our power and the authority and direction of our lives to people who don't know who we are, or people who really understand the psyche of the human and are able to direct it away from themselves. And that's why so many people feel that things are off and think that they're feeling disempowered. I think that comes from your soul just going, this isn't right. But when we start saying soul and everything, it sounds like cloudy and every fairy, but it's all of us. That feeling of just something not adding up, something not feeling right, that years of discontent of just going on and on and on and it not getting any better, means that there's something that you can do. Like you say, everyone's an expert in at least one thing. You only have to look online and see how people are making millions sometimes by just doing what it is that they want to do. Like, go on YouTube, like there is something for everybody, and people are being able to feed themselves and monetize and entertain and educate just by coming out of their own knowledge space. And I believe that's where community, where society can go if everyone starts to become their own entrepreneur, and kind of pull back from having to be part of massive institutions where you're just a number and a barcode, and not and really interchangeable with like you want to hang on to that job so badly, but if you're gone, they'll replace you in a second, and it's a terrible thing to think about. But sometimes we need corporations, but corporations can be run in a more heart-centered and giving and loving way. And I'm with you with all of those things, and trying to do it in my way, by speaking to people, getting the message out so that more people just hear that there are many people that want more and are trying to make it happen. And maybe by hearing different conversations from different people and hearing how everyone is doing it in their own way, that maybe that idea that you keep having is a viable idea, because everyone starts from somewhere. Everything starts from that thought in your head. It's like, how long are you going to wait before you go, do you know what? I've only got one life this time around. You know, I can only live one life at a time. Let me just go with it and see where it can take you. We're in a position where it's so easy to get your ideas and your thoughts and out there and connect with like-minded people more so than ever before. And we should really grab it.
We should. You know, whatever life purpose, you know, you have, or whatever dream that you have for yourself, it's important to sort of dream it and enjoy it and feel it and know that it's out there for you, and not worry about the steps that you have to take to get there. That's not our job to rearrange the whole universe. That's the universe's job to rearrange it for yourself. All you have to do is know what your purpose is, or know what you want, or know what your dream is, and live your days dreaming that and knowing that that is going to come to you, and only taking one more step towards it. You don't have to know all the steps. There's so many situations and scenarios I know of people that are living hugely successful lives, and there's no way that they could have guessed that route to get them to their dream. There's just no way, and it wasn't their job to. But what they did was they believed that that was for them, and they just took one step at a time, and the universe did the rest of it. If you want to be a rock star and have 10,000 people sing your song back to you, I'm sure there are people that would lie in bed at night and dream that, and they know that, and then they sing their songs, and they don't think, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to get to be there? They just do that next step. They just start that band, or they just, you know, do that gig, and then they get signed, and then, you know, the universe will do that. And before you know it, I'm sure they are singing songs and having everybody sing it back. But when it's something really big like that, what people can do is they know their dream, because they don't know their steps to get there. They stop dreaming their dream because they think it's impossible. And then if you're not dreaming the dream and you don't know the steps, so you're not doing any of the steps, you're definitely not going to get the dream. Yeah. All you need to do is know what you want, believe that it's coming for you, and be present with that, and enjoy that feeling in your body that that is who you are, and take one step towards it at a time, and the universe will do the rest of it. It's a brilliant universe that we live in. I don't think we can see everything that's going on. The way that it changes around you when you believe in yourself is it's like a dance. It's like a beautiful dance, and it's really entertaining the more attention you pay to it.
Oh, I agree with you. I say magic and miracles, because I've seen so much change in my life, even in the past couple of months, of just shifting and doing things differently and speaking about things differently. Opportunities are literally just showing up, to the point where I've just had to take a moment and sit down and go, man, wow, yeah. I wouldn't have been able to plan it. Even just a couple of months ago, when I was up at night trying to change and rebrand and get everything kind of in a different space, if I hadn't have followed that tap on the shoulder where it's just change your website copy in the middle of the night, where I'm tapping I can hardly see, but really just I really need to put. If I hadn't have done that, it then wouldn't have got me into the kind of next place where, when I'm communicating with people, they're like, oh, actually, you can do this thing. I mean, I've got something on this evening that just came as a result of me changing and me talking in a different way. And, you know, I couldn't even even a week before I didn't have these opportunities, and they just kind of came out of just doing it. Because also the when you're ready, or when you look like you're moving towards something, like you say, opportunities come towards you. And if you're in that space of, this is what I want to do, this is what I believe, I can see it in my mind, and I'm going to create as much as I can with the little bits of info and guidance that I get to do that day, the tiny little bits, then people will come, opportunities will come out of nowhere. I can say it because it's happening to me on a daily basis now. More so than ever before, you know, and I never considered myself to be unlucky. You know, I had challenges, but I always managed to kind of pull myself up. But by really delving in this time around, I'm not just speaking out of I've read it in a book and I can give you the quote. I'm telling you, this is happening to me on a daily basis.
Yes.
you know. So
Yes,
yeah, I'm agreeing with you. And if everyone can just get into that, just try it, those little ideas, that intuition, that gut, the more that you lean into it and just kind of hear that voice, the more that you trust that voice, when you, especially when you get something that doesn't make sense, you're just like, well, why would I do that? It doesn't really, kind of like, that's not logical, but you're just like, well, it's that voice again, I'm just going to do it. It just puts you in a different space completely. Like you say, if you're trying to do it by logic and forward motion, then you're not gonna, you're starting from a position of not knowing. But if you kind of get into that space of, I'm seeing this and I'm just going to make this happen based on what I'm being told to do that day, it really works out.
absolutely. For sure. Yeah, it's the belief plus the action, isn't
Mm.
it? I don't know who said it, but somebody said you can't pray you're going to catch the bus, but then not run for the bus. You've got to say the prayer, but you've also got to run.
Exactly.
And you'll get it.
I've not heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That, I think that's the bit that people get caught on, the manifestation, that it's just going to turn up on your doorstep. I mean, you may be lucky enough for that to happen, but even if it turns up on your doorstep, you still got to open the door. I mean, really, and fetch
Yeah.
it.
And be confident and be authentic to yourself, and not worry about looking different or sounding different or being different to other people. I think the best, most powerful thing that we can do is know who we are, and I really don't want to say step into that power because it sounds cheesy, but step
But
into
it's
the power of
true.
it. It's,
Yeah,
it's it's very powerful to believe what you believe and not be ashamed of it, and say what you think is true for you. Because whether somebody else believes that that's true for you or not, it will give them the confidence to at least be true about themselves.
yeah,
I think it was Marianne Williamson. She does that wonderful speech about our deepest fear. It's not that we're inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond measure. And the more you let your own light shine, you subconsciously give others permission to do the same. When you're authentic, people see that that's working for you, and then they want to be authentic and think, well, hang on, if they're special, I'm not special like that, but maybe I'm special in a different way. And that's
yeah.
it. We're all special. It's just about letting it shine. I feel like I've been a bit cheesy, but it's true.
The thing is, like, it's a shame that we have to kind of apologize for speaking such absolute truth, because people are like, no, it's like, why do you want life to be difficult? Why are you more comfortable with it being like a total grind? You have to put the work in, but it doesn't necessarily have to be just like this breaking grind. If you're working on, you like you say, when you're in that power, when you're working on purpose, like, you can work for hours on end, and you come out the other
Mm,
side. And I've done it before.
yeah.
It's like, hang on a minute, like, I've not eaten for hours. I need to like go and like take care of myself, because you get into that flow state and things happen. And like, you and me both just want more people to experience that, and then see what that effect will have around the world if more and more people work from that space, and what we can
That's
create.
it.
It's I've got high hopes. I've always had high hopes for that. I'm
Definitely.
excited for it. It's been so good speaking to you today. You can
Thank
go,
you. It's
it's
definitely been like a lovely chat down the coffee shop.
conversations, it's not an interview or a presentation. It's about coming on and sharing, so that people can get an idea of not only what you're doing, but the person behind who's doing what, to kind of feel into the fact that you're a real person with a real story and real experiences. Because in this day and age as well, people buy people. Like, even if you've got a big company behind you, what will draw them in, and what will like make them feel less intimidated to approach your company, is knowing that you're a person and where you're from, and just hearing you have a chat on on any given Thursday morning. like,
Yeah, I
like
love
it can
that.
be like having a conversation in a coffee shop. Why not? We're ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things, and I think everyone just needs to hear the humanity behind people who have big dreams. We're not high on a cloud. We're just like big-hearted people that want the best for everybody. But yeah, before you go, please let everybody know how they can contact you, get involved in your courses and workshops.
Certainly. So if you go to www.awakemeditation.co.uk, you have all the tabs there to guide you. So private, public, online, parents' guides, schools and work. You choose which way you want to learn. Certainly for beginners or anybody wanting to be able to meditate with their eyes open, be present in their own lives. So they're governed by their consciousness, not their mind, which is where the higher power comes in. Go for the stage 1 higher power course. You can do that anytime. You put your earphones in and away you go. And after that, get involved with a group, hire a private teacher, whatever it is you want, come to an event or a retreat, but it's all at awakemeditation.co.uk.
Perfect. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonia, for your brilliant conversation, and thank you for listening. You can find out more about me on my website. That's carolmaywhittick.com, carolmaewhittick.com. And I'm getting such amazing feedback about the Embody Higher Energetic Resonance 3 Steps Closer to the Woman of Your Dreams journey. If you're interested in that, check out the show notes for a link. This is about stepping into the vision and the vibration of the dream that you have for yourself. If you can see it, it's for you to be. Take the free journey, experience more, bring the future into your now. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, it's Carol May Whittick. On Instagram, it's Casmic, CAZMICK. So enjoy your week and connect with you on the next episode. Take care.